Hey guys, I thought I would talk about my Moffitt Cancer Center experience that I had on Friday. Typically, it takes me 24 hours to recuperate from my travels, so I didn't do anything on my blog yesterday. So my apologies if you missed me. I hope you missed me. I am a big believer on you go where the talent is at, so it takes me a minimum of at least 1.5 hours to drive to Moffitt, so that is no problem. I actually had to go to 2 different buildings, and the first one consisted of my CT scan. And unfortunately, I believe I've said this before, my IV had an issue for the contrast. Surprise. Tried it in my right arm, didn't work. Tried it in my left hand, it didn't work. Finally got it on my right wrist. Painful. I want to mention this nurse that I had that put the IV contrast in me. I can count on 2.5 hands how many times I've had CT scans. She was the first. Once the contrast was put in, I no longer needed the IV, but she released me from the actual piece of equipment. And if anybody can relate to this, you're hooked up to this IV thing, and then you get pushed through the CT scan, which, what does it do? It pulls on your IV because you're attached to that machine still, and is very frustrating. And she was the first that actually disconnected from the IV pull, so it was great. So I get done with that, but it seems like the more CT scans with contrast that I have, the worse it affects me. So it took me a little bit, and she actually had to help me walk all the way to the car. I felt really nauseous. I felt extremely dizzy. I sat in the car for a little bit, but then I had to drive over to the other Moffitt Center for the rest of my appointments. And so I got through it. I got up to the valet at the Moffitt Center at the McKinley building. And the first thing I do at the valet, I ask, is anybody here that can drive a manual? And of course, the person that came up to the car couldn't, but she was able to get somebody to drive my car to the garage for me. So now I'm inside the building, and the first thing you need to do is go register. So I take care of that, and luckily I still have my wristband from the other building. And I head over to lab work, and also luckily I have my wristband, but also I still have my IV that they put in my wrist. So that way I don't have to go through the struggle bus again on getting blood drawn. So I get that done, and then I have to scoot over to the ultrasound area where I have to wait. But all right, I get to finally eat. It's about lunchtime. It's noon, and I eat and I eat and I eat. Apparently, if you saw my reel earlier, apparently all I do is eat when I'm at Moffitt. It takes a hot minute, so I've got my belly fed, but I'm pretty tired, and I decide I'm going to take a nap. So I fell asleep in the lobby, but of course, just like a parent or something, every little sign, especially if you hear your name called, you wake up. So I woke up and still a little disoriented and wavy from, I guess, the contrast. I have not a clue. And go to get an ultrasound on my guinal lymph nodes for all the clips that were put in for my surgery that I had in July 2020 when I had all the lymph nodes removed. And that's pretty dang painful because they have to press on it, and it presses up against the clips that are in there that are already sore and make it difficult for me to walk. But it turned out to be all good. So I get down there and I head upstairs, and I go ahead and pre-register to see my oncologist, and I got an hour to kill. So one of my favorite things to do when I'm at the McKinley Moffitt Center is they have a Starbucks. So this cafe, it has I tried their pistachio latte. Amazing. And I got one of those, and another favorite of mine is their BLT on wheat. So I recommend those two things. Anyways, so I came up there and I ate, and then I finally got to see my doctor. And boy, that's a whole nother blog to have a conversation on what she said. But she did, on my side, everything was good. But I had a couple questions for her, and we had a deep conversation. So wrapping things up, I kind of left on a funny note. As I'm leaving, I head into the elevator to go downstairs, and there are two ladies there, and apparently they saw me in the ultrasound room. And the one lady says, "Man, I admire you. The fact that you can actually sleep when everything that's going on inside a waiting room is amazing." And I looked at her and I said, "You know, I've had cancer 3 times, and I have been in the hospital so much, and I have been at cancer centers so much that I am that comfortable that yes, I can fall asleep here." So as I'm leaving, I head out to the valet, and there's 3 young guys sitting there, and I said, "All right," I said, "whoever can drive a manual can go get my car." And of course, they all turned to one guy, and he just shook his head, and he said, "Guys, this is my last car. I'm headed home." So, yeah, it's kind of important. Learn how to drive a stick shift, guys. They still make them. People still drive them. Anyways, took me a couple hours. I took my time to get home. But I went home with a clean bill of health. Everything is looking good. And next time I go, I'll have my MRI brain scan. So it'll consist of me having 5 appointments that day. And it starts at 7:15 in the morning. So, yay. Anyways, make sure you like and share my page. I am on Facebook and I am on YouTube, and I want to continue to share my progress, share my experiences, share my stories. I encourage you to do the same. Interact with me, ask me questions, post comments. What are your experiences? I would love to listen to them. I'm sure other people would be interested as well. We're all here for each other. So, all right, guys, have a good day. Talk to you later. The cancer experience. You can be cancer-free, but never free from cancer.